In this section, we are going to create a tile map. This video is part of my Robot Miner series in which we have been building a retro 2D platformer game called Robot Miner. If you haven't been following along with that, but you still want to learn about autotiling in Godot4, stick around. You will be able to follow along. You obviously won't have a player or a scoreboard or anything, but you will be able to follow along. You just have to do the following. So create a new project. Call it something like tile map noodling. Decide where you want to save it. I'm just going to save it to my desktop. So you want 2D, scene, new scene, 2D scene. You can just call that world or whatever you want. And then add a child node and select a tile map. Okay, once you've done that, you should be able to follow along, no problem. I thought I would start with a quick demo of what a tile map enables us to do in terms of building our levels much more quickly and efficiently than we have so far done. I have just created a scene over here. You don't need to do this. I've just created a scene from the default level template just to demonstrate what a tile map can do. So no need to do this. It's just an example. So here we have our tile map node, and down here we have our tile map window. If I click on this pencil and I make sure I've already selected terrain 0, I can draw tiles onto my level. And if I play my level, you'll notice that the player can walk on the tiles, so they have collisions built in. And you should also be able to work out that if I draw the tiles, what's happened? Tile map, terrain 0. Godot is able to work out how to place the tiles. It has all these tiles to choose from, but it somehow knows how to place each tile or which tile to choose depending on the surrounding tiles. So you might guess from that there would be a bit of setting up to do, because how does it know how to do that? I will explain all of that in this section. Let me do a bit more demonstrating. So if I click this eraser, I can erase my tiles. If I click this rectangle and turn off the eraser, I can draw a big rectangle and fill it with tiles, or I can draw a line of tiles. Generally, though, I would use the pen to draw them, or the rectangle if I need to fill in a big area. The rectangle also works, by the way, with the eraser. So if I want to erase all those, just do a rectangle and erase them. Okay, so as you may have guessed, we need to do a little bit of setting up in order to make that work, but it isn't much work that we have to do. And as you can see, it enables us to build our levels much more quickly and efficiently. So to start, I have got 2 file manager windows open, one for my game and one for my downloads, because we need to download some assets. If I go over here into my itch.io page, which is almost too easy, one word, with no spaces, .itch.io/robot miner asset pack with little dashes between the words, you will find the asset pack. Okay, so I have updated the asset pack. If you followed along so far, You'll have most of these assets, but we need some more. So if I click on download, and my assets are downloaded. All right. Into my downloads folder. And I need to unzip my assets. Now, if you've already got the assets, which you will have if you are following along, you don't need all of these. So let's just unzip that. And then open it up, go into Art, and go into TileSet. And all you need to do is move the TileSet into the game files. Wait for that to happen. And we have our assets. Okay, let's carry on. Now we have our assets, it's time to create a new level. At this point, if you want, and if you have been following along with the Robot Miner series, you can create your level 2. I'm not going to do that because I'm going to do this a few times, so I can't create the same scene repeatedly. So I'm just going to create a level. I'm going to do it in the same way as I would when I do come to create my level 2. So I'm just going to go new inherited scene. So click on scene, new inherited scene. I want to inherit from level template. And it's unsaved. So I will just Command S, and I'm just going to call it tile map demo. And save it. Okay, but feel free to call it level 2 and start making your level 2. Same process. I'm going to save that. Okay, so I've got everything that my level template comes with. Just going to change the title to tile map demo. And with the parent node selected, or the root node selected, I am going to add a new scene, which is going to be called a tile map. And there it is. Okay. First stage of the process is to create a new tile set. So I come over here to tile set. You'll see it says that it's empty. So I click down here and I go new tile set. And there we go. And you'll see in my little window down here, it brings up a new tab called TileSet. So now I've got tile map and tile set. Tile map is where I draw my tiles on the screen. Tile set is where I configure my tile map to enable me to do that. But we've got some chores to do before we start doing that. So I'm going to click on where it says tile set. I'm going to change my tile size because our tiles are 64 by 64. We're using quite a big sprite for our tiles. Then we are going to need our player to be able to walk on the tiles and to collide with the tiles. For that, we need to apply physics. So I'm going to come into physics layers. I'm going to click add element. And then I'm going to remove collision layer 1 because we are not the player. Our tiles are part of the world. So I'm going to click 2. That. We can interact with the player, that's correct. We don't want to interact with ourselves. We don't want to interact with the hazards. We do want to interact with the enemies. So my collision layer is 2. My collision mask is 1 and 4. And I only need 1 physics layer. So that's good. Godot will remember that because it's the first physics layer we've set up in this tile map. Godot will remember that as physics layer 0. And we need to remember that for later. Okay, so I'm going to close that. The other thing we need to do is auto-tiling. Godot's new word for auto-tiling since Godot4 is terrains. So we need to create a terrain to enable auto-tiling. So I'm going to expand. And I'm going to click add element. And then it's going to go match corners and sides. Click on there, it gives you some choices. We want to match corners and sides, so that's fine. I go into terrains, so I don't click down here. I go into terrains, and then I click add element. And I'm going to call it, double click on name, I'm just going to call it ground. And it gives us a choice for a color. And people can fall into the trap of thinking that the color needs to represent the color of our tiles. And that's not the case. The color really needs to be something that stands out against the color of our tiles. So it almost needs to be a color that clashes with our tiles. So I'm going to click on that. Our tiles are almost that color anyway, aren't they? And we want to go with a nice kind of gaudy orange color. And I'm going to have it a little bit saturated so I can see through. In fact, no, orange is no good, is it? Because our tiles are kind of that color anyway. Let's go over here into the green area. And yeah, that's it. Quite a gaudy color. A little bit saturated maybe, so that we can see through it. So yeah, my color is going to be green, and you'll see why I'm doing that a little bit later. All right, so we've got our physics layers and we've got our one terrain set. I can close that down. I'm on 64 by 64. That is correct. Right, let's go into TileSet, which, as I said, is where we configure our tiles. So I click on TileSet, and it says no TileSet source selected. Here's where I go over into my TileSet folder that I just added, and I expand that. And what I want is my TileSet Robot Miner tile sheet. So it's called TileSet Robot Miner tileset.png. Don't know why I said TileSet twice, but I won't worry about that now. Drag it over into tiles, and you get this pop-up. The atlas's texture was modified. Would you like to automatically create tiles in this atlas? Okay, you notice it calls it an atlas. So a list of tiles, or a set of tiles, is called an atlas. And if I click yes, it automatically chops them up into 64 by 64 pixel tiles. And you can expand by clicking on the plus. You can, if you want to view your whole thing in its entirety, you can click on the minus and do that. If I want to expand my TileSet section, I just click down here and it makes it the size of the screen. All right. As I said before, the TileSet section is where we configure our tiles. So we're in the setup section now. So you can do things like margin, separation, that kind of thing. I'm going to leave all of that as it is because we don't need to change it. In select, you can see here it says no tile selected. So in select, I can select one tile and I can do various things to it. I can set up animations, which is useful if you have things like grass tiles that wave around in the wind, or water tiles that you want to show waves on, things like that. You can do animation. Terrains is something that we're going to need to do, and that enables us to do auto tiling. So if I want to include this tile in a terrain, we've only got one terrain set, and that's terrain set 0 because it's the first one that we set up. So I just set that to 0, and I would set terrain to 0. Now it asks me about the terrain's peering bit. And here is where we have to tell Godot where it sits in the tile map in relation to other tiles. So is there a tile on the right side? Yes, there is. We have to set that to 0. Is there a tile at the bottom? Yes, there is. We have to set that to 0. It actually says bottom right. Look at that. So is there a tile to the bottom right? Yes, there is. We have to set that to 0. Is there a tile to the bottom side, which is the one below? Yes, there is. So we set that to 0. And you can see it draws a little shape. So each tile contains within it a little map of where it sits in the grid, in the tile map, with relation to other tiles, okay? And being in the select section enables us to set this individually for each tile. You might be thinking now, that sounds a bit laborious. And indeed it is. And luckily there is a quicker way to do it. So I'm gonna just undo all this. And we're gonna do it again a little bit more quickly later. So I'm gonna close terrains and I'm gonna look at physics. We have one physics layer, which is physics layer 0. This section is quite useful as it contains tools which enable us to draw custom collision shapes for each tile. I don't need to do that here, but just by way of an example, here's what you do. You click the green one to add a point. So if I click the green one, I can add a point. I can add it, I'm doing this very roughly. Add another one, add another one, add another one. Join it up, and hopefully you get the point. So if the tile needs a custom collision shape, you might want to do that for really, really accurate gameplay. That is how you do it. You can edit the points with this blue tool here. Click on that, you can move them about. Okay, like that. To delete the points, you click the red one. You have to do it every time for every point. And I will get to, and I think I'll get to that point now, where I only have, as soon as I delete that, I've only got 2 left. So it will delete my whole shape, because you can't have a collision shape that's just a line. So that's useful if you need to draw a customized collision shape. We don't need to do that. With my tile selected, if I just press F, that will fill the tile. F stands for fill. I can, of course, use these tools to adjust this shape, but that is a quicker way to do it. There is an even quicker way to do it. If I just undo that with Command Z, if I hold down Shift, I can multiply select my tiles. Oh, it says none tile selected, so I did that wrong. Select my tiles. They go green to show they're selected, and I just press F on all of them, and that adds a collision shape to all of my tiles, okay? So if I now select one, it will show that tile as having a collision shape. Randomly select any tiles, it will show them as having a collision shape. So that's a really good way and a quick way to add collision to your tiles, okay? So now, at this point, I think this video has been going on for long enough. We have set up our tile set, at least to the extent of dividing our PNG file into tiles, and we've added physics to every single tile. What we need to do next is enable auto tiling by using terrains, and we will do that in the next section. I hope to see you.